Hi, this is Doug from Unique Three-Phase. Today we're going to be talking about air compressors, and when I say air compressors, I mean big air compressors. We've run here at Unique Three-Phase, we've run 5-horse and 10-horse air compressors and made videos of them. But you know, there's a time in a person's career or time in his shop life that they need a lot of air for a lot of sandblasting or running big, huge sandblast cabinet, or there's some machines that take quite a bit of air. So you're going to need to step up. How do you run like this? How do you run this 25-horse air compressor on single-phase power? Well, you'd have to buy a 75-horse rotary converter. Now that's great if you have a shop full of tools and you need the 75-horse rotary converter. But if you don't need that converter to run everything else, if this compressor is the only thing you need to run, then the smart thing to do is to build yourself a unique three-phase transformer converter. I sell a book on Amazon that explains all how to do this. I used to sell DVDs on eBay explaining the same process. And when you look at this, here's everything I need to run this 25-horse air compressor. Everything is mounted on the skid here. So what we have is we have a box. It's got some capacitors and some relays and controls in there. And then we have the transformer. We have a 25 kVA transformer around the back here. This does a fantastic job of running this air compressor. It's fantastic because that's all you need. And you know that transformer right there, I picked that up off of Craigslist for $100. Now, a lot of times you have to pay $150 or $200 for something like that. But there's $100 for the transformer, and you're looking at maybe another $150 for the parts that are in the box, the start capacitors, run capacitors. This means that you can run this air compressor spending less than $500. Now, you go out and price a rotary converter or price a phase perfect converter that would run this thing, and you're talking quite a bit of money. This can save you a lot of money. Like I said, I've got the book on Amazon. I used to sell the DVDs, but they were getting a little bit old. They're filmed with an analog camera, and you know, I just kind of got to the point where I thought, well, the quality is not really up to snuff in the video department. So I may remake those DVDs to put them out there, because I've had a lot of requests where people say, I just need to see it visually. So here's the compressor. It's 3 cylinders, 2 low pressure, and look at the size of those cylinders, by the way. Compare that to a 5-horse. It's the 2 low pressure and then the 1 high pressure. You've got the intercooler back there. It's a fairly nice intercooler on this thing. You have this is one of the modifications I did. This is a electric solenoid valve. The electric solenoid valve controls the unloaders. This is an advantage, and I've discussed this with using a 10-horse compressor, and that is you can control when the thing unloads and loads. So that gives you the dual run control, where you can have the motor run continuously, which in this situation, most people buying this compressor are going to probably be doing sandblasting or something that requires a lot of air. That means you might as well go ahead and just run it continuously instead of having to try and turn on and off, on and off, on and off. And also, what I discussed is you can have a loadless start. You can delay the start of the pumping for a couple seconds, which makes this thing come up to speed. It's real easy on the start. When you don't have that, basically the thing loads up before the thing comes up to speed. Especially like I was showing you on a 10-horse rotor, running the 10-horse compressor on the rotary converter. The compressor loads before the thing actually gets started, because the rotary converters take so long to get something running. This way, a person could go home and they could modify their compressor. If you got a rotary converter and you want to modify it to make it start easier, you can do something like this with that electric solenoid. It might be a little more money than some people want, because the solenoid valves can run, you know, $80 to $120 on eBay. Sometimes you'll find them for $50. But this compressor, it's a Leroy compressor. It's made by the Leroy company. They were famous air compressor manufacturers. They were bought out by Dresden Industries. The pump runs at about 800 RPM. You can see the pulley ratio there. $120-gallon tank, naturally. It puts out about 80 cubic feet a minute. And the thing came from the factory. I noticed that from the factory it was set to go off at 150 and come on at about I think it was 135 or so. I actually have fiddled with the adjustments a little bit to do the load and unload, and I right now this thing is running. It unloads at about 145, almost 150, and then it comes back on at around 115. All right, let's start it up and see what happens. All right, see, I had this switch up here. This means that the thing runs, oh, that's the on and off actually. And the switch below it, I may move this oil pressure gauge actually. The switch below it is whether it's continuous run or what it is now. What it is now is it shuts off. If I put it on continuous run, then it'll run until the pressure drops. So let's run the pressure down. Okay, I just opened the valve a little. Let's adjust it somewhere it works. It's idling. Oops, okay, there it goes. It cuts in there. Close the valve and we'll get some action here. close it a little more. You got to find the sweet spot. It's hard to really, you know. Okay, it's going up now. Got the valve closed off a little bit more. Okay, now it's idling. You'll notice it idles. Once it warms up, it's usually around 27, 28 amps. It's idling at 31 now. Just loafing along. Now, if you notice the air dropping, I've got that valve open, and I'll tell you, it's bleeding out a lot of air. You don't drain a 120-gallon tank from 150 down to 100 like that without blowing out air. Oh, you're probably wondering why that drop light's hanging there. Yeah, I did that for a reason. I've been always curious as to, you know, like sometimes my wife says, well, the light's kind of dimmed down today, you know. I kind of wonder why. So I wondered, what I wanted to do was see the voltage drop over here in the shop compared to the voltage, you know, in the modular home over there. So I ran the drop light extension cord over to the house and plugged it in on the outside outlet. And I put it here, and you saw when we started this, it's really not that bad of a dim down. You know, when you're considering it, you know, what you're starting a 25 horse air compressor. In the intercooler. It's wondering what's happening. Gee. I put my hand in there, but I typically don't like to stick my hand into moving machinery. Yeah, so that's idle. It's 30 amps right now, idling. Windy out here. I'm not sure how the microphone is holding up. produce about 80 some amps when it's running, which is really very reasonable. The motor is allowed on the like 230, 240 volts. They allow 62 amps is what the motor reading is. It says it's allowed up to 72, I think it is, or 70. It's allowed 70 amps at 200 volts, something like that, 208. So actually the compressor is not overstressed here at all. You can see the reading, 60, 58, 55. This will produce about 80 CFM. It's good for something where you're using sandblasting, or something you need a lot of air. Now I'm going to put this on eBay and sell it. And the drop light doesn't go with it, obviously. And this big 6-inch gauge doesn't go with it. I just stuck that on there for the camera purposes. So if I get this on eBay and you're looking at it, that big gauge stuck on the front of the box doesn't go with it. Now if I turn it off, draining the air out there to make the thing go up and down. Okay, well that's about it for now.